Why is the drinking age 21 in the US? What up, YouTube? It's your boy Jermaine, back with another video. Today is another warm day outside and I have two options: to cut the AC on and listen to this thing rumble, or to just be really still and close the blinds and hang out indoors. So let's be still, close the blinds, hang out indoors, and make a YouTube video. But anyway, I have been asked this question over and over when I am traveling abroad, and people always want to know, once they find out I'm from the US, why is the drinking age 21 in the US? This is a question a lot of people want to know, and I thought that I would sort of like just talk about this and debunk this for a little bit. This is just a theory that I have of why the drinking age is 21 in the US and why it's not 21 in most other parts of the world. But this is my theory right here. This is, I don't know if this is true, but I'm just going to throw this out here. Okay, so in the US, we are basically a car culture country. All over the US, people drive, with this small exception for people in New York and, you know, certain big cities along the East Coast and parts of the Bay Area. People don't really drive as much. But for the most part, you ask a common American and they have a driver's license. Going to Europe, that's a whole different thing. In a lot of other European countries, it costs a lot of money to get a driver's license. And also, cars are very expensive. So you have a lot of people that just don't get driver's license and they just use public transportation. However, in the US, public transportation sucks for the most part. Let's just face it. It's not very good. And if you live outside of a city, if you live outside of a downtown area, chances are you will need to drive, or you'll just have to get rides and stuff like that. So in the US, a lot of kids start driving at 16 years old. Now, to get a license at 16 in the US is not that big of a deal. Now, it varies from California to Tennessee to New York, but for the most part, it's very simple. I believe in New York, you can't get a license at 16. I don't know. Every state is different. But for the most part, a lot of states in the US, you can start driving at 16 years old. It doesn't cost a lot of money to get a license, and there's no extra training that you have to pay for, like in some European countries where you have to take like classes and they cost like thousands of euros and you have to pay lots of money for the course and all that. In the US, it's nothing like that. When I got my license in Tennessee, I believe I paid like $20 or $15 or maybe $25 total. One of my mom's friends actually taught me how to drive, so I didn't have to take like, you know, extra advanced classes or anything. And I also learned how to parallel park too before I got a license. So I was already a pro at parallel parking. But anyway, so you have kids start driving at a very young age. Okay, so now you have kids driving at 16 years old. Now, if kids don't drive at 16, chances are they are definitely going to drive at 18. And if they don't drive at 18, it's almost guaranteed by the time they hit 20, they're going to be driving, they're going to have a driver's license. So, in the US, you have kids driving at 16 years old. Now, if you let them drink, they're going to go to bars and they're going to drink, and then they're going to have to drive home. Now, I'm going to use Europe for an example. You have less young people drive, you have less young people getting licensed, and you also have a much lower drinking age. Now, in the US, we have a higher drinking age. But just because the drinking age is higher doesn't mean that kids are not drinking. If you go to a university, okay, kids graduate high school at 18 years old. They go to university at 18. When they're at university, they go to college parties all the time. They go to dorm parties. They drink like crazy on campus. But usually when kids are on campus, they don't drive as much. I mean, don't get me wrong, some people still drink and drive, but for the most part, you have kids at one spot, one location, they're drinking. But let's say you don't go to college. If you don't go to college, you're probably still drinking somewhere. You probably got some friends over the age of 21. So yeah, the drinking age is 21, but that really doesn't stop people from drinking. It just stops people from going out to go to bars and drink. So instead of kids in the US going to bars and drinking at 18, ask yourself this question: what are kids in the US doing at 18 years old? Now let's answer this question. In most places throughout the US, you have kids at 18 years old, they're already driving, or maybe they started driving at 16. So when they're 16, they go to the mall, right? They go hang out at the mall, they go shopping, right? Maybe they work a part-time job, and then after their part-time job around 10 o'clock, a whole bunch of friends, they'll meet up, they'll drive their cars to the movie theaters, then they'll go see a movie, they'll go hang out, maybe after the movies, maybe they'll go over to a friend's house, and this is when everybody's 18, 19, and 20. They'll go over to that one friend's house who is 25 years old, who's really cool, who's already got a job, who already has, a cool place to stay, who will always buy his friends who are under 21 alcohol. I mean, kids just drink, but they do it in a different way. Now, I kind of look at it as an economic advantage because you're already going to have kids to drink, but now in the US, you can get kids to do things. You can get kids to stimulate different parts of the economy that are not being stimulated by this large group of young people in other parts of the country. Because in the US, you're sort of like forced, you're sort of funneled to do things like this. Like in most communities, a lot of kids just do random stuff. They go hang out at the park and smoke weed when they're 18 because it's easier to get weed when you're 18 versus to get alcohol. Or you have kids street race. When I was growing up in Memphis, on the weekends, we would go street racing, illegal street racing, like really late at night, which could be really, really sketchy sometimes. Sometimes we would have a lot of house parties, like 18 years old. I remember having so many house parties. I remember it was always people crashing on our couch, and we were really rowdy kids. If we could go to bars and drink at 18 years old, I think that we would be inside of bars drinking. Okay, we would not be running around. A couple things we used to do when I was younger, we used to steal kegs. Like we would go to bars, like a restaurant, and we would like go into the back and we would steal the keg and like throw it in the back of a truck and like drive away. We had friends, I didn't personally do this because I felt really bad, but we had friends, they would steal street signs. Like a street, like a cross street, they would go and like bag a truck up and take a mallet and like take it and steal it off the back. I knew friends that they just partied all the time, and they're 18, 19 years old and they just got wasted, when they're off work. Because back in the day, living in Memphis when I was 18, I remember like a bunch of other 18-year-olds already had like somewhat decent jobs, like a job making all right money for the amount of money that it costs to live in Memphis. It's definitely not like the situation that I have experienced in the Bay Area where you make X amount of money and then your bills are way more. In Memphis, it actually kind of worked out a little bit better, or a whole lot better. Anyway, now every now and then I always hear people say things like Americans are so rowdy and Americans are so loud and so obnoxious when they travel. I really don't know where that really comes from, because most people I know growing up, like they started drinking at like a young age. Like most people don't start drinking at 21 years old. Most people start drinking at 16, 17, 18, maybe 19, 20. I mean, if you're really buck and wild and crazy, maybe you start drinking at, I guess, 12 or 13. But I just don't really remember too many people back in the day that started drinking at 12 years old or 13. I mean, I don't know. In other parts of the world, I definitely have met a lot of other people that started drinking super young, but like not that young. But anyway, I thought I would just sort of make a video talking about why the drinking age is 21, because I don't know, it's just a question I hear people ask quite often, and I saw it in a video like a month ago in the comments, and I was thinking, I should make a video talking about that, but that was like a month ago. So I finally decided to make a video because it is a nice day. Oh my gosh, it's so hot. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and peace out, yo.